Welcome back to Swordman Josh Gaming, and I promised last week that I would get this video out, so here it is. This is my take on Mono-Blue Tron. I tried to make it a little cheaper than what it normally is. For Modern, the reason that I decided to go the Tron route is because it's a whole lot cheaper to get a full play set of Tron lands than it is to get all of the fetch lands that are needed most of the time for almost all of the Tron decks. So I went this route. Mono-Blue Tron is the one that I have complete. I almost have Eldrazi Tron complete, except it's missing Chalice of the Void, which is very expensive for 4 Chalice of the Voids. And then while I'm at it, since I have it all set up, I might as well build Mono Green Tron. So for not too much more money, after you have one of them built, you end up with 3 different Modern decks. If you sleeve them all in the same sleeves, you can pick your flavor of the week and switch between them. That's the reason I went that route. But let's get into what I did for my Mono-Blue Tron deck. So, Tapped Out for Card Kingdom says this deck's around about $500, which is not a horrible price for a Modern deck. But what's in it? So first, obviously, we're running Tron. So we're running all of the Tron lands, full playset of each. In terms of cards that I am currently missing to finish this deck, I have everything in the mail except for a Teleria West, and I have everything else. So what we have in the deck also, but the Teleria West allows us to transmute, either go find another Tron land later if we need to go find a Blast Zone, to go find an Academy Ruins, go find a Walking Ballista. So that's what Teleria West can be transmuted for, because it has to be a CMC of 0, which Teleria West, since it's a land, when you transmute it, it has to be 0. But it allows us to go get some answers. The rest of the land that we're running in here is 8 basic islands, 2 blast zones, which should hopefully help, since we're not running Chalice of the Void. Hopefully they help blow up aggro decks, because a lot of times they're sitting on either 1 or 2 CMC. And the big land that allows us to go infinite in this deck is Academy Ruins, though I did figure out a way to make another infinite setup also, not requiring Academy Ruins. So what are we doing in this deck? We are stalling. We're stalling until we can get our combo set up. So what are we using to stall? Well, we not only want to stall, but we want to dig for the combo. So we are running 4 Condescends, which is just a counter target spell unless its controller pays X, so it's a blue and an X, and we get to scry 2. So it allows us to dig, and it counters our opponent's spells. We are running 3 Remand, which is counter a spell. If it's countered that way, put it in the owner's hand, but you get to draw a card. And we're running 3 Repeals, which is return a target non-land permanent with converted mana cost X to their owner's hand, and we draw a card. So these are our counter spells that we're running to draw cards. Sorry, I have a cat. The other 2 counter spells that we're running to protect ourselves are 2 Force of Negations. Now, to also dig, we are running 4 Thirst for Knowledge, and that's about all of the digging we can do. Technically, since a lot of people for Mono-Blue Tron would be running Big Ugin instead of Little Ugin, I am running Little Ugin in this deck, Ugin the Ineffable. So technically, he's kind of a card search because he exiles the top card of your library, turns it into a 2/2, and then when that 2/2 dies, you get that card in your hand. So it actually is card draw. The other Oogie, the big Oogie, is more of a control piece, whereas this hopefully speeds up the time clock of being able to set up our combo, because it makes our colorless spells cost 3 less to cast. So it means that for every Oogie that we have out, what it takes for us to go infinite is reduced by 2. Since we are running Tron, normally you'll never see Cyclonic Rift in a Modern deck, but since we can produce mana so easily, we happen to be running 1 copy of Cyclonic Rift. To get our lands, to get Tron set up, of course, every single Tron deck is going to be running 4 copies of Expedition Map. We are running 4 copies of Karn, which allow us to go get into our sideboard, which we'll get in the sideboard because this deck plays very heavily out of the sideboard. We are running 1 copy of Mindslaver, which, if you guys don't know, Mindslaver and Academy Ruins together with enough mana creates an infinite Mindslaver lock where you take every single one of your opponent's turns. So Mindslaver, for 6 mana it comes out, and then 4 mana you tap it and sack it, and you control target player's next turn. That's a big investment of 10. The Academy Ruins, for a blue and a colorless, you put a artifact from your graveyard, and you sack Mindslaver when it happens, from your graveyard back on top of your library. So for 12 mana, which we should be able to do if we can stall our opponents long enough, we Mindslaver lock them, and we get to take every single one of their turns until we can beat them because they'll have no control over the game. So most of the time they just scoop. So that covers the majority of things. Now, most of the time, Mono-Blue Tron isn't going to run 2 Talisman of Creativity. They're going to run alternate talismans. They're either going to be running blue-black, so that way they can run Dismember or Thoughtseize or something like that, or they're going to be running blue-white, so they can run Path to Exile. I don't happen to have those. I had Modern Horizons talismans. I decided to go this route. This is used for one reason and one reason only. If we get into a very controlling matchup for games 2 and 3, we will sub in our 1 copy of Banefire. With all of our mana, Banefire should be able to just hopefully take them out in one shot. So if you guys don't know what Banefire is, it deals X damage to target creature. If X is 5 or more, the spell can't be countered and the damage can't be prevented. So hopefully it's just a one-shot kill, and we use the 2 Talismans of Creativity to get there. So what are we running in the way of creatures? We are running, and I put in another infinite loop with this card. This is Emrakul, the Promised End, and I'll pull him up because he has a lot of text, if it'll pull up. So this is the Emrakul that's legal to play. 13 mana, but reduced by 1 for every card type among card types in your graveyard. So hopefully we can reduce him down some. He is colorless, so Ugin the Ineffable reduces him down more. Whenever you cast him, gain control of target opponent during the player's next turn. After that turn, that player takes an extra turn. It has Flample and protection from instants. So here's the interesting thing. If we can constantly cycle Emrakul, then we can still constantly take their turns. We are running 2 copies of Nimble Obstructionist. This is more for the cycling portion of this. When you cycle it, Nimble Obstructionist counters target activated or triggered ability. That's everything else. We're running 2 Walking Ballistas and 1 Worm Coil Engine in the main. That takes care of the entire main board. Where this deck is at is in the sideboard. So we've already talked about Banefire. We are running 1 copy of Crucible of Worlds in case we get up against land destruction and they either destroy our Academy Ruins or destroy one of our Tron pieces and we need to get them back. It just allows us to get pieces back from the graveyard for our lands. We're running Ensnaring Bridge. We're not going to have a really small hand because we have to hold up answers, but we can get our hand size down enough where we can get away from big beater decks. 1 copy of Grafdigger's Cage for those who like to play out of the graveyard. 1 copy of Liquid Metal Coating. This is a combo with Karn, the Great Creator, actually. So if you have time or you're at a stall, you can use Liquid Metal Coating. You can turn one of your opponent's lands into an artifact. Then you can plus Karn, which then turns that land into a creature that's equal to its casting cost, which is 0. So basically, Karn and Liquid Metal Coating destroys a land every single time it's used. We are running a spare Mindslaver in the sideboard in case we don't pull it in the main, and Karn can come get it out of the sideboard. Oh, I guess I should tell you guys how we're getting this out of the sideboard. So Karn has the plus ability, which I've already talked about. So Karn does a couple of things. First off, activated abilities of artifacts your opponents control can't be activated. So if they're using any artifacts, they can't do anything. This used to be a lockout with Microsynth Lattice, which has now been banned in Modern. But I still think this deck is strong enough to play. The -2 is you get to choose an artifact card you own from outside the game or in exile. So if they exile something of ours, we can still get it back. Reveal the card and put it into your hand. So this allows us to get anything out of our sideboard we want, or anything out of exile that may have been exiled that's an artifact. So that's the way we're getting into our sideboard. So like I said, we have one spare copy of Mindslaver in our sideboard. We have one copy of Oblivion Stone in case we need a board reset. We have one copy of Phyrexian Metamorph, which can actually come down as a copy of anything, including a Emrakul. We have Sorcerer's Spyglass, which this can be substituted for Pithing Needle also. I haven't yet played this out. Pithing Needle is 1 mana, but you don't get to see their hands. Sorcerer's Spyglass is 2. They kind of both do the same thing. We're running Spellskite, so that way it's protection. Tormod's Crypt for Graveyard Hate. Trinisphere for aggro decks. 2 more copies of Walking Ballista. We'd really prefer a copy of Walking Ballista and a copy of Wormcoil in the sideboard, but this is what I have. And the card that I decided to put in here to work with Emrakul is Portal of Sanctuary. So for 1 mana and tap it, and it's an artifact, so we can go get it. We're playing blue. We can go get this artifact with Karn. For 1 mana and tap it, return target creature you control and each aura attached to it to their owner's hand. Activate this ability only during your turn. So if we have the ability to cast Emrakul multiple times, then we can effectively take infinite turns, because we postpone the turns that your opponent's going to take by casting Emrakul multiple times. Eventually, if you can't keep it up, then your opponent's going to take a whole bunch of turns in a row. But Portal Sanctuary and Emrakul together should make infinite turns, hopefully long enough where you can just destroy their entire gameplay. Plus, you'll get to draw a card every turn and progress your gameplay. So that's my take on Mono-Blue Tron. Like I said, I went with Tron because the Tron lands are a whole lot cheaper than fetch lands, and all of the shock lands and everything else that you need to play the other decks. And also for not much more price, you have Eldrazi Tron and Green Tron, which are both fun decks to play. And I'm almost done with Eldrazi Tron. Like I said, I'm missing 4 Chalice of the Voids. I can go over that deck later of what I'm running. But like I said, I am missing 4 Chalice of the Voids for that deck. So it is not complete. I think I'm missing 4 Chalice of the Voids and 1 Oblivion Stone to complete my Eldrazi Tron deck. Green Tron, I'm missing some of the green creatures. But other than that, Green Tron's basically done also. So if you have any questions on this deck, just leave a comment down below. I'll answer it the best I can. I'm not a huge Modern player. I have not played Modern in forever. I've goldfished this deck quite a few times. But I can't wait until we are done with this quarantine and I get to try to go over to my LGS and play some Modern over there. Hopefully after the quarantine's over, they still are, and everybody's just not gung-ho for Commander and forget about everything else. So if you like the deck, leave a comment, hit the bell notification so you know when I stream. I also have a Twitter account. I should start putting that into the descriptions of these. Whenever I stream now, I have it linked in to send out a tweet. I'm new to Twitter. Send out a tweet of what I'm streaming and the title of it. So, like I said, I hope you guys like it, and may Keep Calm Kitty be with you, and hopefully y'all have a great weekend. I'll talk to you later. Bye.